Let's go to 5 headlines. All right. Let me go to my headlines if I can. Here we go. Number one, another night of the DNC convention, which does come to an end tonight, and I'm really excited to be hosting the watch party for that tonight on All Access. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Well, in fact, I'll just tell you right now, All Access Live. You can sign up for that. It's our most exclusive membership tier over the Daily Wire is All Access. You go to dailywire.com/Walsh right now, get 20% off All Access with coupon code ACCESS. But tonight at 8:45 p.m., we will be streaming the last night of the DNC convention. It's going to be a big watch party, big celebration. So we're celebrating that it's ending, so make sure to tune in for that. Anyway, last night, Obama spoke, Kamala Harris spoke, and a lot of people are talking about those speeches for some reason. What those people don't realize, apparently, is that all speeches from all politicians are lame and uninteresting. Like, have you ever, so anytime there's a political speech and people are reacting to it in this big way, making a big deal of it, as people are with Obama's speech, you know, but have you ever in your life actually, and maybe there's something wrong with me, so I'm going to ask you, have you ever heard a political speech in which something was said that made you go, oh, wow, that's a great insight. I never thought of it like that. In your entire life, have you ever heard a political speech that had a moment like that? I never have, and I've heard a lot of them. I've heard non-politicians give talks and speeches like that, but I've never heard that from a politician ever. So political speeches are always telling you everything you already know and want to hear, or at least what one side or the other wants to hear, but packaging it in a smoother and more eloquent way, which, you know, there's a skill involved in that, but the way people react to political speeches sometimes, I think, is there something wrong with me that I don't see it? Because I listen to that and I say, oh yeah, well, it just sounds like every other speech I've ever heard from a politician. Nothing special there. So we're going to skip over most of that, but I want to talk instead about the biggest speech of the night from a non-politician. The megastar, I'm a huge fan myself, Billie Eilish, was at the convention to perform, and Eilish, despite being only 13, 14 years old, decided to begin her performance with a little political lecture for us, which I did hear quite a lot in this that I thought was valuable insight. And here it is. Listen.
You don't need me to tell you things are a mess. Donald Trump is destroying our country and everything we care about. We need leaders who will solve problems like climate change and COVID, not deny them. Leaders who will fight against systemic racism and inequality. And that starts by voting for someone who understands how much is at stake. Someone who's building a team that shares our values. It starts with voting against Donald Trump and for Joe Biden. Silence is not an option, and we cannot sit this one out. We all have to vote like our lives and the world depend on it, because they do. The only way to be certain of the future is to make it ourselves. Please register, please vote.
Yeah, really good stuff there. Is she standing in a forest, by the way? That's what I couldn't, the whole time I'm trying to figure out. It sounds like there's crickets in the background, and she's in a foggy, misty forest. They gave everybody else sound stages and studios, and they made her record in a haunted forest. That seems unsafe, frankly. Is this the first address ever given from a haunted forest at a political convention? That's what I want to know. That would be good trivia. I think it might be. If I remember correctly, though, we should note, Newt Gingrich did deliver some remarks from a serial killer's shed during the 1992 Republican convention. So similar kind of idea, but this time they're out in the forest. Anyway, that was good. And really, I'm rethinking all of my positions now after reflecting on what Betsy Eilish had to say there. As I said, big fan of her music. All right, let's go to number 2. I guess I lied, so forgive me for that. I said I wouldn't play any of the politician speeches. On second thought, I will play just this one little snippet. I didn't completely lie, I guess, because I said that speeches aren't interesting and they don't contain anything that I haven't heard before, which is absolutely true of this. But still, it's notable, so listen.
They understand that in this democracy, the commander-in-chief does not use the men and women of our military who are willing to risk everything to protect our nation as political props to deploy against peaceful protesters on our own soil.
Yes, that would be Barack Obama, former president, supposedly above it all, not mean and nasty like old Trump, the adult in the room, right? Yes, that Barack Obama, and he's making excuses there for Antifa, making excuses for rioters that have left city blocks in ruins and killed dozens of people, calling them peaceful. That's what we get from Obama, who's just so above. He doesn't do all the petty politics. All he's doing is excusing this dangerous group of people that have, been killing and destroying for months now. Number 3, speaking of making excuses, check out these tweets from a guy by the name of Andrew Sampson. He's in the tweet, he's responding to someone who says that their home was broken into. And Andrew, the compassionate and empathetic man, says in response, because Bay Area folks refuse to pay taxes, push homeless shelters out of their neighborhoods, fight against social programs that help the local populace suffering from addiction, and participate in gentrification, which is skyrocketing up real estate prices. That's the reason he gives for the break-in. Then he continues, of course, there is the entitlement and privilege that comes with all of that. Someone breaking into your house should make you question why they felt that was their only choice and how the system failed them. Translation, you have no right to be upset if your home is broken into. It's partially your fault for living in that neighborhood, and also it's the system's fault. So it's your fault, system's fault. It's not the fault of the person who chose to, move their legs up to your door, open the door or the window or whatever and come in. Not their fault. It's everyone else's fault. Now, if you don't want your home broken into, you're entitled. It's probably a good time now to mention that Andrew Sampson is on the Forbes 30 under 30 list, meaning he's young and rich. And now it's also a good time to mention that the vast majority of break-ins obviously happen in low-income areas. Not surprisingly, in low-income areas, that's where many of the robbers and burglars live. That's also where the easy targets are. Working class, low-income households are not going to have armed security, probably won't have cameras, dogs. They might have one dog, but they're not going to have trained security dogs and so on. So this rich SOB is sitting in his safe, large, protected home, telling you that you're entitled if you want to be as safe as him. That's what's going on here. And you see how this works. This compassion for criminals is really just a total lack of compassion for victims. This is the absence of compassion. These are people who don't give a damn about the victims of crime, and they package that sociopathic indifference and selfishness in a nice little coating of faux compassion for criminals. Last note here. I don't know if you've ever suffered a break-in before. My family has. It was a long time ago. I don't remember it. I was very young. I wasn't there at the time. But my mom was home when someone came into the house, probably looking to steal something, presumably. I don't know if they actually did take anything before running off, but here's the point. Nobody was physically hurt. Nothing of value, as far as I know, was taken. And yet, this is a highly traumatic experience. To have a stranger in your home violating your safety and security in that way, to feel all of a sudden unsafe and vulnerable in your own home, that's a terrifying experience. It's not a small thing, okay? It's not the kind of thing, like if you wake up in the middle of the night and there's someone in your living room, that's not the kind of thing that you just, hey, the system failed them, it's all right. I'm gonna go back to bed. Hey, take what you want, okay? You want a glass of water or anything? Hey, no problem, okay? So sleep on the couch? Great. No, you don't do that. That's not the kind of thing you brush off. And Andrew Sampson wouldn't brush it off either. That's the attitude he has for everyone else. He says, shake it off, rub some dirt on it, get over it, you'll be fine, you sissy. And then he retreats behind his locked gate with the motion-activated cameras. That's the way it goes. Number 4, reading from the Daily Wire, Sweden's top infectious disease expert warns that believing face masks will stem the spread of COVID-19 is very dangerous. Anders Tegnell, chief epidemiologist at Sweden's public health agency, basically the equivalent of U.S. Dr. Anthony Fauci, an immunologist, says there's no proof masks actually limit the spread of the virus. This is what he says. It is very dangerous to believe face masks would change the game when it comes to COVID-19. Face masks can be a complement to other things when other things are safely in place, but to start with having face masks and then think you can crowd your buses or your shopping malls, that's definitely a mistake. And then he goes on from there. And this just shows again how there's an actual discussion to be had here about the efficacy of face masks and how they should be used, whether they should be used, and who should be using them, and in what context they should be used. This is something we should really be talking about. But of course, like with everything else, once it is settled meaning that, the media and the elites have decided that this is what it's going to be, then no more discussion is allowed. Number 5, finally, this is good stuff. Jane Lavender, assistant editor for the Daily Mirror, tweets an image, a photo from a book written in the 50s, giving women advice on how to get a man. And I thought, in the 50s, they really got it. They understood. They did, especially on issues related to the sexes. So they understood. So I'm going to go through this together. We'll all go through this together, and we'll just see if you're a single woman who, is looking for a man, then I think this might be useful for you. So what we have here is one page. I don't know if she puts up, no, yeah, it's just the one page. And it's actually 129 ways to get a husband. And here we have, just 20 or 30 of them. So let's go through a few of them here. Okay, says number 14, be nice to everybody. They may have an eligible brother or son. Good advice. Okay, no problem there. Get a government job overseas. These days I'm not so sure about that. I guess it depends on, I don't know if I would think of that as a way to necessarily meet someone. I guess you could, but it really depends on where you are. Volunteer for jury duty. Is jury duty really a place for that kind of fraternizing? I would like to think that it isn't. Be friendly to ugly men. Handsome is as handsome does. Good advice. Tell your friends that you're interested in getting married. Don't keep it a secret. Yeah, that's a big one. Tell everybody. Wear it on a shirt. Maybe get a shirt made up. I'm interested in getting married. Put up a billboard sign in your community with your face. I'm desperate to get married. Something like that. That's going to advertise, and the suitors are going to show up to your door, I think. Maybe not to your door. You probably wouldn't want that. But I like this one. Get lost at football games. It's great. I have been lost at football games, and I didn't meet any eligible men. I can tell you when I was lost. Mainly because I was ashamed that I was lost at a football game. Don't take a job in a company run largely by women. Okay, here's a good one. All right, now we finally got down to business here, so to speak. Number 20, don't take a job in a company run largely by women. You might argue, I'm not saying that I'm saying this. I'm not saying that I'm not saying this either, but someone might say that is actually good advice in general for everybody across time and space. Some might say that. I've heard some say that. Some say it, some don't say it. That's all. Get a job demonstrating fishing tackle in a sporting goods store. Demonstrating fishing tackle in a sporting... This is written by... See, at first I thought this has to be a list written by a man based on the advice, but this advice here tells me this is a list written by a woman, because this is written by someone who's never been in a sporting goods store. I've been in many sporting goods stores in my time. I've spent way too much time and money in them. In fact, an embarrassing amount of time and money. I've never seen someone there like demonstrating the fishing tackle. How would you even do that? Are they going to have like a wading, a baby pool? And they're going to have the jig on there and they're casting in. And what would that even look like? And frankly, call me sexist. If I was asking for someone to demonstrate it, I'd prefer if it was a man demonstrating the fishing tackle. This kind of takes me back. I went to a cigar shop not long ago, and again, many cigar shops in my day. Again, an embarrassing amount of time and money spent in them. First time in my life I've ever seen a woman that was there in explaining all the different cigars which, hey, she has every right to. Perfectly fine. I'm progressive, so I was fine with that. But there was a part of me, it was a part of me taken aback by it. That's all I'm saying. Not in a negative way, okay? So I'm thinking it'd be the same thing with a woman demonstrating fishing tackle. So I don't know about this one. Let's see. Let's see. There's a lot of advice here. We won't go through all of this. But carry a hat box. What? How would that help? What is a hat box? A box with a hat, I guess? See, this is why I've got the 75 IQ. So you just carry a box with a hat around. Is it a conversation starter? Like a man's going to walk up to you. What do you got there? Oh, a hat box? Oh, you got a hat box. What do you keep in that? A hat. Oh. Well, see you later. See, that's how I would see that conversation going. I don't know if that's really going to work. And then, stand in a corner and cry softly. Chances are good that he'll come over to find out what's wrong. You know what? That of all of this, that's probably the best advice on this entire list. And not bad. Some good stuff there. At least look, some of it's antiquated. At least a lot of it is better than probably the advice you get these days. If you listen to a song like, for example, WAP, I think this advice is probably a little bit more applicable in your everyday life. Thank you for tuning in to the Daily Wire, one of the fastest growing conservative outlets in the entire country. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and then subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of our content.